Right. Well, as you can see, it's a sunny Tuesday morning here in New Orleans, and I'm over here for POWERGEN International 2019. Now, I walked the show floor at POWERGEN last night, and the show floor is huge. For those of you that haven't been at POWERGEN International, it is very different to POWERGEN Europe, some of the other POWERGENs. Yesterday, we were off at the Entergy's St. Charles combined cycle gas turbine power plant just outside New Orleans. And if you can imagine, when you're building a power plant, think of all of the construction, all of the materials, the piping, the cabling, the tools, the people, the skilled workers. POWERGEN International really focuses a lot on that. So about 40% of the show is the physical hardware, the piping, how you connect pipes together. So it really is hardcore engineering technologies and the companies that do that around building power plants. So I'm over here and I'm trying out LinkedIn Live. So thanks to LinkedIn, I got access to the beta. I tried it last night, and for those of you that might have seen it, the video got clipped. I'm not sure if this one's going to get clipped or if I'm live or whatever yet. But what I'm planning is I'm also recording the broadcast onto my PC. So if for some reason the actual thing is clipped, I'll post the video later. Now, for a LinkedIn Live, it's a different format. You normally know me, I turn up, I record with an interview with somebody, and then we edit it and we put it out later. So this whole LinkedIn Live format is slightly different because it's live. Now, for this session, I have a couple of topics that I wanted to go through. One was about POWERGEN. Two was what I'm expecting here this week compared to what we saw at POWERGEN and European Utility Week in Paris last week. I also, around transparency, a lot of people asked me last week, hey, who are you working for? What are you doing? I want to give you an update on that so everyone knows what I'm doing and who's paying me to do what. And the last thing is around this role of an influencer. I have a couple of thoughts on that one. Right, so POWERGEN, as I said, it's here in New Orleans. And yes, it's really bright and sunny outside, so the backlighting and whatever is not great, but it's better than the inside of the hotel room. And I'm doing it here from the hotel as well because of bandwidth. I tried it last night down at the conference center, and you really do need a good internet connection. So hence, here in the hotel, it seems better. So at POWERGEN, there's, as I say, they're expecting something like 15,000 people. It does cover every aspect of the power generation business. So from the traditional coal, nuclear, hydro, gas, there's solar, there's battery storage, there's wind, you name it. And as I say, all of the technologies, the skills, the people required to actually design, build, implement, run, operate, maintain, anything to do with power generation. Now, there are a bunch of utilities here as well. Most of those guys will be actually running their own power plants, so they'll be talking about what they're doing in terms of operations and management. So it is hardcore power generation. Another piece of the conference, if you like, is about on-site generation. And what I mean by that is diesel generators or gas generators. You know, in the real world, there are many places when they're building a new power plant and they're building any construction site, certain parts of the world, there is no grid connection and there is no solar farm and a lot of battery storage nearby. So they need power, and that's down to diesel gensets. You may not like it, but that's the real world. And about 30% of the show is companies that have the latest and greatest in terms of diesel gensets for on-site power delivery. Now, you might say, well, there's connected to the grid. Well, if you see what's going on in California, various parts of Europe, if you want energy security, you may look at having a on-site generator. And today, to be honest, the easiest way to do that is with diesel genset. Now, there's gas gensets coming. There's a lot of stuff, and I'll be looking at some companies doing energy storage on-site. But to be quite honest, right now, kind of the game in town is diesel. And I'm going to be looking at some of the companies because the way they compete amongst each other right now is the efficiency of the diesel engine and the less emissions. So I'm going to find out what the latest and greatest there. And they have all sorts of technologies for scrubbing out emissions and. You may not like it, but it's reality. So as I say, POWERGEN is full of everything to do with power generation. And I'll be wandering around looking at various companies, and there'll be lots of new different technologies and seeing out if there's any robotics, a lot of software companies and whatever. So it's going to be a busy couple of days. Now, when I was at European Utility Week and POWERGEN Europe last week, you might have seen that I had a chat with Ross at the Smart Energy International studio, and they were asked what were my key takeaways after the 3 days. And what I called out was that everybody was talking about decarbonization. There was a lot of frustration from folks I know in utilities, vendors, consultants, you name it, saying, we should be going faster. There's a lot being done, but we're not fast enough. So a bit of frustration. In terms of technology, there wasn't a lot of new stuff. It was satisfying to see things that we've been chatting about for years, drones and augmented reality, whatever. And they're not taking over the world, but they're just being used. More people are using them as just this tool. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, there's no blockchain." Blockchain was there. It's under the covers. It's an enabling technology. It's not the answer to any solution, or it's not the solution to any problem. It's an enabling technology. A lot of stuff under the covers with Energy Web Foundation, the guys are up to. There was a lot of new technology, I suppose, around chemistry. If you look at a lot of the stuff that's happening with batteries and materials, and if you put different types of paint on a wind turbine, you increase efficiency by 1%. This kind of stuff. So that's kind of quite fascinating. And there's a lot of mechanical engineering, a lot of chemical engineering innovations that'll be on show down here in terms of welding joints together, tools for clamping pipes together. It's a whole different world, right? But that's where you start getting efficiencies out of building new power plants. Now, the other thing just straight up was that obviously last week in Paris, we had POWERGEN Europe and European Utility Week co-located. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with the European setup, European Utility Week would be the equivalent of Distributech here in the US. And all of those events are now under Clarion Energy. And last week, it was announced that in Europe and in many of the events worldwide, the whole POWERGEN European Utility or the Utility Week concept are coming together under Inlit, a whole new rebranding. And to be quite honest, given the way the energy industry is transitioning, it's time for the entire events world and the entire value proposition that the Clarion Energy are bringing with Inlit is well worth looking at. So here this week, we'll be finding out what the plans are for POWERGEN International and Distributech going forward over the next couple of years. And they've been changing as well, because a lot of the stuff that they have on show here, you have the knowledge hubs, you have Initiate, so there's 8 startups down here. I'll be going off looking at some of them. So a lot of the concepts that came out of European Utility Week or POWERGEN and in various parts of the world, Clarion are starting to put them all together, best practices. Now, I would say that if you look at Initiate in European Utility Week, the version here is still a baby brother, baby sister. There's a lot more to do there with startups. So that's a lot of room. We need more new blood, new innovations, new ideas into this industry. So hopefully that'll improve in the next couple of years here as well. One of the big topics in Europe last week was hydrogen, right? Everyone's talking about hydrogen. There is some hydrogen here. There's an actual couple of sessions and whatever, but I'd be curious to see if it's different here. There's a lot of gas, right? And that's to do with local resources, fracking, and. So I'd be curious to see what the talk around decarbonization, the talk around hydrogen, power to X, stuff like that. Different dynamic, different industry, different economies, different skill sets. So that's going to be interesting to watch. What else is going on? It's going to be a busy couple of days. There's the Powerful Young Professionals. So maybe a get together this afternoon or 4:30 or something, where all the next generation in the power industry come together. So I'll be over at that. There's a bunch of keynotes. Archie Manning, one of the local legend, is kicking off the conference this morning with a keynote. So you'll see a lot of stuff over the next couple. It's whatever. It's a big event, right? They're expecting some 15,000 plus people. So it's going to be busy. Now, when I finished up with Intel a couple of years back, I published some things about being transparent and who am I working for and whatever. So I want to give you an update on what I'm up to, because when I was up at European Utility Week, people saw me doing a lot of stuff for Siemens. I was doing stuff for Innowatts, and then I was doing interviews with other people. So I got a couple of questions as to what are you up to? Who are you working for? What's going on? So here's the deal. So at European Utility Week and POWERGEN last week, I had paid engagements, a contract with Siemens, and I was doing about 50-60% of my time at the event last week. I was working on telling Siemens' story. I was interviewing the CEO, Cedric, many of his management team, many of the experts. And they're the videos you've seen me posting up in the last couple of weeks, or the last week, and then there'll be more coming. We're only about halfway through the content because they have a lot of content. I was also doing stuff with Innowatts because I've been working with them in the background for the past 4 or 5 months. Now, when I post anything on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and you see hashtag Siemens influencer, hashtag Innowatts influencer, that's a paid engagement. Now, the rules and regulations are getting, and rightly so, a lot more strict. You have to announce it. And that's what I'm trying to do and make people aware of what I'm doing and who's paying me to do certain things. And even though I'm being paid, it's still my opinion, right? I'm not taking canned content and just re-blasting it out. That's what I do. And hopefully the companies that contract with me see value in that. So if you see anything with hashtag Siemens influencer or hashtag somebody influencer, I have had a paid engagement, and it's not a one-off. I don't like the term. I'm not coin operated in that it's one tweet. It's a campaign, so it's around an event. It's around a technology. I'm telling a story. So that's what I'm up to. Now, at European Utility Week last week, I was then running around and I was interviewing other companies and chatting with other people, and I'll see something interesting and I'll put out a tweet. That's just me being me, right? I go around, I chat to interesting people, I learn a lot. But if there's no hashtag something influencer, that's just me being me. I'm not charging anybody for that. That's me. Now, here at POWERGEN International, I'm actually here on behalf of Clarion Energy. And the POWERGEN team here have asked me, like last year, to come along, and I'll spend 50% of my time. All the stuff around POWERGEN that I'm doing is 50% of the time on their behalf. So I'll be chatting to the sponsors of the event, but I have a free rein to find out what I want to chat about. Other companies I wander around, if I see something interesting and I think, hey, that's cool, I'll chat to them or I'll post something out. But that's just me being me on behalf of Clarion, promoting the event. Now, I do have a contract with Siemens Gas and Power here this week. So about 10, 15% of my time, I'll be doing some stuff with Siemens. And again, that will be hashtag Siemens influencer. Anything else you see coming out with me going, oh, that's cool or whatever, that's just wrapped into the overall event or me being me. Nobody's paying for that. That's just me being me. Now, I know it's complicated, but this comes on to the point about being an influencer. I'm not a big fan of that word, and I prefer the word storyteller, because people that know me say I talk, well, I probably talk too much, but I tell stories. I find something interesting, I go, hey, that's different. And I kind of look at some of the quirky things as opposed to just yet another wind turbine or yet another something. And that's just me. Whether you think it's valuable or not, you decide. But I tell stories. And in terms of my actual business, about 50% of my time, I'm out and about at events. And the industry knows it as you're an influencer. And as I say, I'm not a big fan of the word because it means many things to many people. And as I say, I'm not coin operated. You know, there's no product placement. I'm drinking a cup of tea because I like tea and I have a sore throat. So it's not that it's every tweet is money. I try and outline what I do with certain companies. It's part of a campaign, and I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. But hey, if anybody agrees or disagrees with me, give me feedback, because I'm trying to make it as clear as possible, because otherwise my credibility goes through the floor. So anyway, so that's about it. I'm talking for 14 minutes right now. According to LinkedIn, you're supposed to talk for about 10 to 15. So I think I've hit the numbers there. I'm actually not aware if this has been streamed in total on LinkedIn. I'm using Social Live app, because you need a third-party app. I'm not sure if anybody has asked any questions, because I'm not very good at multitasking when I'm trying to do this. So if there's any questions, comments, or whatever from anybody that's being typed in and you're going, why aren't you answering? I don't have the screen in front of me. I'll try and get back to you later. And as I say, I'm just trying this out. So it's been interesting. Anyway, that's 15 minutes of your life wasted listening to me. And on to POWERGEN. It starts in 30 minutes, so I better get a move on. Thanks.